Hi guys, I haven't posted a video in a while, but I apologize. And I am really looking forward to this video that I'm going to be talking about today. I've worked long on it, and I've really thought about this idea of what I'm going to be talking about. So I hope that you can take something from it. The thing that I'm going to be going for in this video is looking at our outside world, looking at nature, and applying it to our own world and ourselves as individuals. So the topic of today is stagnant water and how we can learn from stagnant water and apply it to our everyday lives. The definition of stagnance is having no current or flow, which it often is given to water. We see stagnant water in ponds, in lakes, pools. We see it in a river that has been cut off by a rock or large formation causing a pool of water. Stagnant water is visible. We can see the stagnant water. We see like the moss and the mold, and the basically take home of stagnance is that it has no current or flow. And it only can occur when water is not moving. Some visuals of stagnant water would be like a mossy pond. You can often smell the stagnance. That is a consequence of stagnance, is that smell, the stench. You're like, oh God, what is that? And stagnant water has several other consequences besides just the smell. A consequence and a result of stagnant water includes it is an incubator for disease and bacteria. Mosquitoes like to go to stagnant water because it is their breeding ground. They're going to put their babies, their eggs in the stagnant water, and more mosquitoes are going to come. And as we know, mosquitoes carry malaria, and malaria can result in fatality. And the consequence of such, if you were to consume stagnant water, would be possibly death. Sickness, definitely sickness. Consuming stagnant water would make you very, very sick. You also don't want to live around stagnant water because the mosquitoes, you'll be bitten by mosquitoes all the time, and possibly get malaria and die. But in all seriousness, stagnant water is terribly bad, terribly bad. So we see stagnant water in nature, okay, and water and mosquitoes and nature outside, they're living organisms. They're definitely living organisms. And oftentimes I think as humans, we notice that we're at the top of the food chain, that we are so socially, technologically, and relationally developed that we forget that we are just a living organism. We have the same biological components and biological processes as a bug outside, as a tree outside. We reproduce, we consume to get energy, we put out energy, the same components as all the living organisms around us. And I think that we forget that we're living organisms, so then we're like, oh, there's nothing that we can learn from nature, but there is. Did you know that humans are 60% water? And we have 92% water in our blood. We have 75% water in our muscles and our brain. So could you imagine if the water in our body decided that it was going to go stagnant, that it was no longer going to flow? If the water in our body became stagnant, we would not be able to digest food, to transport waste, or control our own body temperature. The water in our body is so important because it helps us dissolve so many substances, food, drugs, if you choose to do drugs. And then the water helps our cells eat up whatever it is for nutrients for our body. So water in our body is very, very, very important. If the water in our body decided that it wanted to go stagnant, as you know, we wouldn't be able to digest food or transport waste or control our body temperature. We would be sick. We would be very, very sick, possibly leading to disease or death. I usually talk about weight loss and diet and exercise stuff. So just for a tidbit, did you know that people who are obese have less water in their body? So by being obese, by having that extra weight in your body, what are we doing to ourselves? Okay, we're decreasing the water in our body, which helps us digest, get nutrients, transport waste, control our body temperature. So we see the consequences of the lack of water in our body, the digesting food and the temperature and all that stuff. And how could we allow that to happen to our body? Like, how could we really allow ourselves to get to a place where we don't have any water to do that? I want to expand the idea of stagnance far beyond weight loss. And since we are so technologically and intellectually developed, I believe that we'll be able to grasp this concept. I want to apply stagnance to our everyday life. The second definition of stagnance includes showing no activity, being sluggish, showing little or no sign of activity or advancement, not developing or progressing. So not only is stagnance applied to the term stagnance applied to water, but it's also applied to a broad scheme of things. So stagnance in our everyday lives is visible. Okay, we can see when someone is no longer developing or advancing. They're giving off that stench, that stench of stagnance, that visual of stagnance. And I have often found that stagnance happens. Stagnance begins when complacency begins, and complacency is being self-satisfied, being self-assured, and not being aware of the consequences that could happen of being self-assured. And complacency, let me give you a couple ideas. As far as diet and weight loss, for example, I have lost 60 pounds, and I have done this through diet and exercise and eating right, and I weighed myself about 3 weeks ago, and I was 166, total of basically 60 pounds. And then 3 weeks ago, I decided that I was going to start taking it easy. And I was going to eat a little more fast food. I was going to eat later. I was going to drink here and there, which I hadn't been doing this whole time when I was losing the weight. And as a result of not working out, too, I put back on 3 pounds. And so we see that I have gotten to a point where I was like, yay, I lost all this weight. Yay, now I can, go back to my everyday life. But that is not the truth. I have to keep on going and keep on working, or I'm going to gain the weight back. And I want to apply it to someone else that I know, or that I've heard a story. I don't know them, but I heard a story of. They had worked so hard to get this job. They put in the best resume, the best cover letter, the best interview. But once they had gotten the job, they're like, oh yeah, I got the job. I can stop. I can stop with this full-blown effort that I've given. Well, their half-assed job is being seen by their boss, and they are getting in trouble. They're getting written up, and that is a stagnance. That is stopping your developing and your progress. And we have stopped our development. I have stopped my development and my progressing and my growth, as well as this person has stopped their development and growth by complacency. Well, that stagnance, the complacency, is the beginning of stagnance. And as we see the stagnance will result in terrible, terrible things. Those half-assed jobs, the incomplete or missing assignments, they are visible signs. They're visible signs. And by allowing that stagnance to set in, that no movement or flow, we are destroying ourselves. We are letting the bacteria take over, and we become a breeding ground of stench and disease. And we are sensed by the world around us. The world around us can see this. So we never want to stop progressing and developing, because we don't want that stagnance to set in. If we just took the time to stop and look at the world around us, we would see the lessons it has for us. We are just a living organism, and if we are not developing and keeping that flow going, the progress, we're going to become stagnant water. We're going to become stagnant. And as we see from nature, stagnance is terrible. Disease and infection and smell. So I hope that this video helps a little bit with the complacency, and keep on progressing, no matter what level you hit. Keep on progressing. Push yourself to the next level. Push it, because then we will never become stagnant. We will always be progressing and always be bettering ourselves.